Another life. This week we highlight another life well lived. Among the tens of thousands of young Americans who stormed the beaches of Normandy, France on June 6, 1944 and changed the course of history was a 24-year-old warrant officer from Louisiana named Johnny Jones. Jones was the first black warrant officer in the history of the United States Army. Drafted shortly after graduating from Southern University, Jones led a unit on D-Day charged with transporting equipment and supplies onto Omaha Beach as part of the largest amphibious landing in history. His ship hit a German mine during the invasion, and he was knocked down to a lower deck, where he continued to exchange gunfire with Nazi snipers on the bluff. He carried shrapnel from the war in his body for the rest of his life. Jones survived that historic day, but returned home to the Jim Crow South, where it seemed his heroism in defense of the country had changed nothing. So he set out to make the change. Jones earned his law degree in 1953 and immediately helped to organize a bus boycott in Baton Rouge, which served as the model and inspiration for Martin Luther King Jr.'s famed boycott in Montgomery, Alabama, 2 years later. Jones spent his legal career representing civil rights protesters, like those who sat in at lunch counters across the country. He later served in the Louisiana state legislature. In 2020, the French government presented Jones with its highest award, the Legion of Honor, for his actions in Normandy 3/4 of a century earlier. And back home in the United States, just last year, Jones was awarded the Purple Heart in a ceremony long overdue. Johnny Jones Sr., an American hero of both D-Day and the Civil Rights Movement, died last weekend at the Louisiana War Veterans Home in Jackson. He was 102 years old.
For a man his size, he was tough as nails.
Born in Laurel Hill, Louisiana back in 1919, Dr. Johnny A. Jones Sr. grew up during the Jim Crow laws and had no idea what he would accomplish in his life. This weekend, at 102 years old, he tragically passed away.
Because it's almost like losing two daddies.
His nephew George says it was Dr. Jones's tough personality that he looked up to. As a kid, he remembers a time when his uncle gave him a pep talk after a serious injury had gotten him down.
He said, well, if you have to hit me, you hit me, because I could take it. I never forgot that day.
It was that same toughness that got him through fighting the Germans in World War II. Just last year, Jones received a Purple Heart from fighting on the beaches of Normandy while injured. He later earned many other awards in his life for his achievements.
We have here the links. The Baton Rouge chapter gave this to him, Louisiana Role Model, in 2010.
He went on to get a degree from Southern University, where from there he began his work advocating for civil rights.
People recognize Johnny A. Jones Sr. as being a civil rights attorney and helping to shape the social aspects of life in the state of Louisiana and in the United States.
As an attorney, Dr. Jones was involved in several landmark cases. One of them included the Baton Rouge bus boycott of 1953.
Johnny had a background of dealing with the harshness of society that made him fully suited to be able to handle the civil rights of African Americans and others.
He was also heavily involved with the Baton Rouge chapter of the NAACP.
I mean, you're talking about a certified legend. Somebody who probably pioneered some of the greatest legal cases, or co-pioneered some of the greatest legal cases that the NAACP has launched in the state. So when you say Dr. Jones, Dr. Johnny Jones, I mean, you're talking about a giant.
Although Jones is no longer physically here, his accomplishments will never fade. and his legacy will go on to inspire generations to come. In Baton Rouge, I'm Chris Rosado.
A legend indeed. Thank you, Chris. Mayor President Sharon Weston Broome released a statement following Jones's death. It reads in part, quote, "Jones lived an inspired life that leaves an indelible mark on our community. Please keep his family and loved ones in your prayers during this time of loss. Funeral arrangements are still pending at this time."